Redhead Pro Team member Bob Foulkrod is one of today's most successful and recognizable figures in the world of hunting. His woodsmanship and prowess with gun and bow has carried him far beyond the boundaries of his native Pennsylvania. Becoming a professional hunter was not Bob's first ambition, though. Like many youngsters of that era, heroes such as Roy Rogers and Hopalong Cassidy convinced Bob that cowboying was the way to go.
I had a pair of 6-shooters on and cowboy hat, and just something about that fascination of having that gun and watching those TV shows of Roy Rogers and my father, you know, going out hunting and running foxes, and that were my first memories.
As with many avid sportsmen, Bob credits his parents and grandparents for introducing him to the outdoors.
It just seemed like my dad was always my hero. I couldn't wait to get big enough to be able to go out hunting foxes, and I couldn't wait to get big enough to go trapping. I couldn't wait big enough to be with him. My grandfather was retired, so we fished every day. Sometimes we fished for trout, and sometimes we fished for bullheads, and whatever happened to be in the season that was biting at that time, that's what we did. And we fished. I mean, we just didn't go for an hour or two. We got up in the morning, he ate breakfast, and we came back and we sat down and had supper, and I mean, he fished.
Interestingly, it was Bob's ever-practical mother that witnessed Bob taking his first white-tailed deer.
I remember she was, she was excited. I don't know who was the most excited, whether it was my mother or whether it was me, but when that first deer was, I mean, there was nothing like it. It was just, I was definitely hooked in. You know, I was a deer hunter.
For a while, Bob appeared to be settled into a typical blue-collar world.
Went to work for American France, and I worked there for 10 years. Seemed like I was pretty content there for a while.
However, a nagging inner restlessness finally made him realize that he could never find genuine contentment until he answered the call of the wild.
Because there was just something eating away at me. I didn't know what it was, but it just seemed like I was never satisfied with life. Started a little deer camp in Pennsylvania, which led me to a bear camp, which led me to a caribou camp, which brought me into TV shows.
Presents Outdoor World. Pro Team leader Jerry Martin describes the legend and the man who has become such a close friend.
Bob is just, he absolutely loves the sport, and he's grown up in it, you know, from trapping and when he was a kid, and started into the boat hunting and shooting competition and so forth. But Bob is an awesome hunter, and especially in the North Country. He knows the North Country so good, and caribou and bear hunting, you know. Bob was just inducted into the Bow Hunters Hall of Fame, and it's quite an honor, you know, and he's earned it.
Bob's career as a professional hunter has certainly surpassed his every dream. Yet he remains grateful and a bit in awe of it all, especially his association with Bass Pro and the team.
Hunting for Outdoor World, I don't think people even have a clue on the emotions that you have inside. What a prestigious position to be in. To me, Bass Pro is a leader in the industry. They got one of the best TV shows out there, and I still almost have to pinch myself every time I see myself being a part of that. I don't think anybody on the pro team ever dreamed of being who they are right now, but here we are. I get emotional even thinking about that. I'm sitting here on TV when I was a little kid watching Kurt Gowdy, and now we're in this position to do those same kind of shows and make those same kind of dreams come true for people. It is absolutely a privilege and an honor to be associated with Outdoor World.
Longtime fellow Pro Team members Brenda Valentine and Larry Wyson share comments about their teammate.
Bob Foulkrod is one of the most intense hunters that you'll ever come up against. But he's also one of the funniest, telling jokes, making funny remarks. But he is a really serious and very skilled hunter. He's been around a long time. A lot of people know Bob. A lot of people don't actually know the person.
Bob is very competitive, can shoot a handgun better than I can. He can also, of course, shoot a bow better than I can, but almost anything that Bob picks up, he is going to do well with in terms of the firearm or bow, and I suspect he could do the same thing with a spear or a rock or, you know, or an atlatl if it came right down to it. When he makes up his mind he's going to do something, by gosh, it's going to happen.
As soon as he picks his head up again to see if there's any danger.
Bob is adamant about teaching respect for animals and the outdoors. He hopes that his reputation and celebrity will influence others to share his position on conservation, gun rights, and the future of hunting.
Am I a bad person? Am I sitting here in this chair trying to pass on a tradition that I feel is not going to be passed on? All the memories, all the dreams, all the emotions of hunting with Jerry Martin or with my father or my son or my daughter or my wife picked up a crossbow and watching her eyes get this big, that saddens me that could be taken away sometime just because people don't understand what's going on.
Let me tell you about this suppressor. I want to tell you.
There's no denying that Bob is a world-class hunter, but few may realize that he's also a top-rate prankster. World-class shotgunner and newest pro team member Alan Treadwell recounts when he first met Bob.
The first 3 words that Bob ever told me was, "I hate you." You know, and coming into the team, I didn't know how to take that. You know, everybody else is sitting around just laughing their head off because they know he's just jacking with me. But I didn't know what to say, you know, my jaw drops, I'm just sitting there going, you know, does he really hate me? But, I mean, he was just totally playing to try to get a rile out of me, try to get a reaction out of me.
The future of hunting certainly rests on the shoulders of every sportsman and sportswoman. And for certain, no one shoulders the load more gladly than Redhead Pro Team member Bob Foulkrod.
What can make a hunter get a deer caught up in a hay binder and call the vet and try to save his life, and 6 months later try to take another deer's life? It's called respect. A set of rules. I sit down and play a game of checkers with you. That's part of my nature, is to try to win. It's my nature is when I go out into the field, called hunting season, is to try to take that animal. I plant food plots because I simply like to watch nature. I like to sit there and look out that window and see those turkeys come in the field. I like to see them strut. I like to see them display. I like to see the deer running around. I like to see the little ones born. But when that magic time that the hunters call hunting season, I'm going out there to try to take that deer too. But I'm also going to do everything I can to protect that deer or protect somebody from taking more than their share. I cannot understand someone coming up to me and saying, I'm against hunting, when it is a success story today. I can understand somebody coming up and saying, I wouldn't want to take an animal's life, you know, but if it's in your blood, you can't get it out. It's something you have to do. You know, this has got to go away someday, you know, but you know, I am, 55 years old and it hasn't went away.